G'day guys, Mac at the Outer Circle, and I've moved into my new house, and obviously there's an adjustment period going on of moving furniture and cleaning and yard work and all that sort of stuff, so videos are delayed, and that is the exact reason as to why, and I just wanted to let you all know what's going on there. I'm also working on my own game system, which is going to be a free game system in the background, and I'm at the playtesting stages now. I've done many of the models. It's a naval game based around modern naval ships. So if you're interested in that, let us know and I might talk about it. Anyway, what's coming to Heresy in 2024? So we got this video out of Games Workshop. Looks like the Mark III Command Squad in the first part of the clip, I'm guessing, or a Legion Herald. I'd like to think a Command Squad, but then the Command Squad we saw in Epic, Legion Imperialis, is in Mark 6. This miniature is clearly in Mark 3. And if you enhance the image, there's a round icon on this pauldron, potentially an Imperial Fist Space Marine. This here is definitely a Solar Auxillia riding. It's not a Sentinel. I'm guessing in-game it counts as a Sentinel, but it looks more like a Mechanicum Dune Strider type thing. It has Sentinel legs, and then a sort of blast shield on the front here, with obviously a multi-laser sticking out. I think those little clone trooper, not AT-ATs we saw briefly in the Star Wars prequels. So, that's a thing there. Just speed along through this video. Yep. Mark 6 Assault Squad, obviously we know all about those. Fulgrim, we knew about that. Skip forward. And here we go. So yeah, possibly a Legion Herald here. That is definitely an Imperial Fist icon on the shoulder, because we haven't had enough of those. Yep, Solar Auxilia, which is great, Legionnaire. And yes, like I was saying, it's sort of Dune Strider looking thing here. You can see the legs of it clearly. They're the new Sentinel plastic legs, or at least the sculpt is. But obviously the whole center of it is completely different, so there might be some either reusing of 3D assets, some reuse of sprues, or an entirely new set, who knows. But that's what seems to be going on here. So yeah, Solar Auxiliary in plastic. Now, we spoke about this on the Christmas drunken live stream that we do every year, although in my case, I got a torn rotator cuff, so I've been on Oxy, which is fantastic. Mix it with alcohol to really go for a ride. Now, when it comes to this particular stuff, I have a big qualm, and that qualm, of course, is, unsurprisingly, price. These things have to come out at a reasonable price, you know, and if we were to go and look at something, right, such as these Cadian shock troops, well, it's $84 for 10. A Solar Auxilia squad is a bare minimum size of 10. You're probably going to need around 40 models at least on foot in your Solar Auxilia army. Las Rifle Tercios go up to 20, especially if you're going for the powerful las guns and you're doing like those Gilliman bricks that you can do as one of the options. So you're going to use a lot of infantry just in filling out just a couple of compulsory troops choices. And that's before you get into vehicles. At $84 a pop, if I was to get 40 of these, I'm already well into the 300s, pushing 400 Australian dollars. 336, something like that off the top of my head, dollars, right, just for the 4 squads of this. Probably the same again for the Command Squad, and that's going off their current pricing. If we go down, related kits, Lehman Russ Battle Tank. Well, the Solar Auxilia would have their own Lehman Russ Battle Tanks. We know what they look like because we remember them from, well, actually we can find them on this web store in theory. Solar Auxilia Lehman Russ. It's an incinerator, but let's go with that anyway. So you can see the central hull is different. It's based on the Krieg hull. and has like this canvas covered little gun mantlet on the front here, and this gun slides neatly in and out. The turret on this one is the incinerator big Volkite turret, not super important, but you can see it has a series of filters. It's slightly longer chassis, these little trench crossing spigots sticking out the back. I'm not sure what the term is for those. Probably read it somewhere. But yeah, that's 168. Now, I imagine the price would probably fall somewhere between this and this. 105, 168. Let's split the difference, say 120, 130 Australian dollars. Yes, okay, this is Australian dollars. We can go to US dollars or British pounds or whatever other fictional currency you want. But the point I'm trying to get to here is that these are expensive. So even if you went just the bare minimum number of troops, if you're trying to build a 3,000 point army, you're probably looking at 6 to 9 minimum Lehman Russes. And I mean, 6 would be crazy few. That's if you're running very infantry heavy. 9 Lehman Russes, though. 9 Lehman Russes will fill up about 1,000 points, 1,500 points in Solar Auxiliary. I think 8 Lehman Russes is like 1,000 points in Militia. So 9, even if it was this $105 for this kit, even though it would be a different kit, using parts of this perhaps, but $105, that's $1,000. That's $1,000 on your Lehman Russes, plus the $500 for the infantry, and you're making like 2,000 point army, if you're lucky. So, yeah, there are some big problems here with Games Workshop's current pricing, because I just don't think that's practicable. And that pricing, like, if our current Solar Auxilia, right? If I go to Solar Auxilia, Les Rifle Tercio is what I want. You know what? Let's just type Solar Auxilia and see what we get if the Las Rifle's being pulled from production yet. Here we go. All right, 187. It's 115 for 10 of the Flamers in resin. Valataris 115 with axes, another 115 for Valataris with Volkites. So I'll just pull up this unit, right? So these dudes here, 115, you get 10. Now this is in resin, 84 in plastic for Cadians. I think it'll be closer to the plastic Cadians because they'll be in plastic. That's still an awful lot of money, isn't it now? And why do we see so few Solar Auxiliary armies? If the price is practically the same to buy them in resin as plastic, and you're saving like maybe for every 4 squads of resin, you get 5 squads of plastic. It's that like 10, 15, 20% cheaper. That's probably not enough, I don't think, to make it a viable army where we're going to see them widespread throughout the heresy, which is, I think, actually a real shame. Drakistan Armoured Transport, here's another interesting one. By the way, I make a Makasan transport over on Colts 3D if you want to buy it. Solar Auxiliary Drakistan Armoured Transport here. This is a Melkador chassis, essentially, which has been heavily resculpted. So, same size sides and side profile and tracks and all that, but they've added this whole section on the side with the little side entry and exit hatch. They've basically made a new central hull to it, which is very similar to the old one with the engine deck and stuff, but more parts of it are covered in. It's obviously built up boxy superstructure on top, which I think these are a very sexy vehicle, by the way. And it's all being, trim and riveted together and all that good stuff. Now, this particular vehicle, though, is, it's huge. 221 Australian dollars as well. I think something that's a similar size to it would be something like the Rogel Dawn. So let's see if I can find a Rogel Dawn. Well, the Rogel Dawn battle tank probably gives us an idea of what the transports would cost. It's 164 Australian dollars. For, again, the Rogel Dawn, it's a pretty similar size to a Melkador. it's wider, smidge shorter in length. Yeah, I think and a little bit taller, but I think it's pretty good analog. And the Melkador, of course, comes with a floor, and this doesn't have a floor on the underside, hilariously. So with those thoughts in mind, if you had your 4 10-man squads of infantry and your command squad, and you want to put them in vehicles, either it's going to be the Aurochs, which is pricey in resin. Not the Taurochs, the Aurochs. So 158, and this is a Rhino for all intents and purposes with slightly different war gear. Or you're going to put them in Drakasans. Either way, mid-100s. So 150-ish. So 150-ish per transport. So if you buy 4 of those, well, again, there's another $600. So you could be looking at, what, $2,000, $2,500 for a 2,000 point Solar Auxiliary army with the current pricing model from Games Workshop. Now, I know this is a very long-winded way of getting to the point, but I wanted to sort of show it in this longhand as I sort of walk through my thought process so you guys get where I'm coming from here, which is, I'm not hating on it and Games Workshop for the sake of going, oh, well, you know, your prices are too damn high. No, it's because who can afford that? It's very untenable. You know, $2,000 is, you can buy a vehicle for those sort of prices, like an actual drivable car, and a decent one for $2,000, you know. Buy, you know, Mazda 3 hatchback for those sort of prices. And you'll probably get 500,000 Ks out of it. Great. So with that in the back of your head, do we think this is sustainable? And please put in the comments below. Do you think, no, I think putting these into plastic will be the incentive people need to really buy into this range. Or you're like me and you're like, well, putting them in the plastic is great. It makes it more user-friendly, but you're still, with your price point, you're catering to the same elite clientele who you were before. The only difference is now that for the exact same amount of money, more or less, maybe 15 to 20% cheaper, they're going to be able to build in plastic instead of resin, which has both its pros and cons. Both camps have pros and cons, let's not forget. So I think it's a pretty serious issue, personally. Then we have the apothecaries, by the way, which, here we go. These came out, and I was pleasantly surprised, and I think they did a pretty good job of them. I don't really care for the Mark 6, but it at least goes with the Mark 6 tactical squad, so you get some uniformity. I really like the Mark 5 here, except for a couple little things. First of all, why there's so many tiny rivets on the shoulder? Just put the same shoulder pad that this other guy has on. In fact, I don't remember Mark 5 having that many rivets in the past. It seems excessive, that many bonding studs, as they like to call them. It just seems very excessive to me. But also it makes me wish even more than I already did, and you all know I already did, wish for Mark 5 to have been the armor that we got instead of Mark 6. Mark 6 is lovely, but it's not synonymous with the Heresy for me. It's synonymous with a couple of legions. Mark 5, though, Heresy pattern armor, is synonymous for me with the Horus Heresy. So it would have been nice to have that. Wish we had a few more angles available to us here instead of just these still images, or still image, as it were. But yeah, I think they look pretty good. And, you know, we're slowly starting to get the miniatures we need for the system. Slowly. And I think with just a little bit of kit bashing and moving some bits around, you could probably stretch out the parts on these models over a couple of extra guys. They've also got the weird despoiler type chainswords and not the assault marine ones, and I don't know, it's some weird quirks going on here. None of it's bad though. Don't hate on them at all, and in fact I'd probably invest in some if I didn't have a 3D printer. So it's the way things are going. Anyway, that's it for me. This is a bit of an update episode more than anything, but I'm Mac with the Outer Circle. Thank you all for watching, and please leave me your thoughts below. I did a big Sentinel based on the sort of one that was in Epic, Legions Imperialis. I've got one modelled based on that or very similar looking to it on my Colts. Do you prefer this Dune Strider one with like the exposed rider on top? I'm very interested to see what people say. Anyway, that's all from me. I'll catch you on the next episode.